Hello, my name is Larry and welcome to my YouTube channel called the 956 Studio. Hey, today we're going to be cutting this old log here that the neighbor gave us from down the street. We're not sure what kind of wood it is, but we're going to see what'll come out of it. Now we're going to be cutting with this old homemade sawmill called Timbercat 2020. And I'm really curious what's going to come out of the middle of this old log. It looks like possibly it might be some old ash or something like that. And I guarantee it's going to be spalted because it's been sitting out on the property now for about 6 months. So let's get the sawmill warmed up, let it get to cutting and see what happens. Well, we've gotten into the first cut of it. We're almost finished with it now. It's going to be pretty intriguing what's coming out of this. Maybe junk, it may be a piece of gold. I'm going to crank the old sawmill up and bring it back to its start position. And we're going to go ahead and make our next cut. But I think I'm going to decide to flip it over and put the flat surface down and cut the other side before I continue cutting. It does have quite a bit of spalting in it, but I can tell by picking it up with the tractor and moving it around on the sawmill that the log is not very heavy. So the quality of the wood as far as the figuring goes inside is not very tight. Well, it looks like I decided to make another cut. Now we are cutting with a blade that is about 50 cuts over. I was cutting some really hard oak with it, and I was cutting some mesquite with it prior to cutting this. So it's not quite as sharp as it should be, but it is getting the job done. And normally I like to use the blades that have a little wear on them through the softer wood. They're less likely to dance around and bounce up or down on it. Now I will take a moment out of this video to let you know that you can visit tx-covers.com, and I'll post the links down in the description. If you need sawmill building parts, we have a few of them listed in our website. And again, they'll be down in the description below. And the sun got a little bright there when I decided to change the angle of the camera, didn't it? You can see there, this is not really high quality wood. Spalting looks beautiful in it, but it is pretty light. I actually had the original sound with this video. Something happened though with the Canon EOS M50. It did not record it for some reason or another, so we're having to do a voiceover. As you see here, we're going to go back through the log again, see what we can get out of this second cut or third cut. Post your comments down below in the descriptions area as to what blades you like to use and what blades you recommend. And do you have a homemade sawmill, or do you have a sawmill such as Wood-Mizer or Norwood or custom manufactured or mass manufactured sawmill? We've never really had anything like that besides our Harbor Freight one time, but we have built 2 or 3 of our own. See right there where I'm pointing? In this log, prior to cutting it, I pulled out a nail that was about 8 inches long. You can see how it was nailed into it, and it created that burn effect inside that wood. So it'd be pretty cool to actually have a log that you know you're going to keep outside and leave in the weather for about 6 months and drive a bunch of nails in it to have all them black spots inside of it. It'd be pretty intriguing to see. I had to take a picture of the L2501 Kubota. Fantastic tractor to have. Hey, not giving Kubota a plug, I had to pay $20,000 for that one. My neighbor's probably not too happy. See all that sawdust on the fence over there? Well, you got to teach them to put a fence on beside my fence, right? If I let the weeds grow up in between it, it's very hard to get cleaned out of there. So I try to keep it down with weed killer, and sawdust like that keeps the weeds from growing back. Now we're going to flip that log over. We're going to see what's going to come out of it on this opposite side and try to get that little humped up end cut off of it. Try to get us some flatter logs or slabs out of this log. I had to put me a little spacer in there Otherwise, I would not have been able to cut the far right hand side of that log. My blade guide roller would have hit it. Well, you see at this point I'm about to be pretty happy with what I got there, and I'm taking my stops and dropping them down and replacing them with shorter ones so that I don't ruin the rest of what little blade I have left. Now, don't think I haven't forgotten about that before. Many times I've left those stops a little too high because I'm seeing from the right hand side and stops are on the left hand side. So in my age, you seem to be a little forgetful sometimes that you got them stops over there. And there's been probably 6 times out of the last 200 that I've went in there and I've actually taken that blade and run it right through that little bitty square tubing and ruined the blade. Now tell me, I know you've done the same thing before, right? Don't lie, we know you have. All right, here we go, let's cut. Let's see what we're gonna get. We're gonna run a skim cut here and try to cut that far right-hand side off. Now, you know, I really miss the sound of the sawmill, and I imagine you do too if you're watching this video. The sound coming off the sawmill lets you determine how hard to push that saw and if it's doing a good job. It also lets you know how sharp that blade is. If you can push it pretty evenly and not have jerking moments cutting through the log, then chances are your blade is pretty sharp. See, I like to move my log over if I have the opportunity behind the blade and not in front of the blade. I see a lot of people pick the sawmill up and then bring it back to the left side of that log and then work in front of the blade as it's rotating. Folks, that's a no-no. You never know when that blade's gonna pop or when it might jump rail, and when it does, if you're in front, hello, things can happen and go north really quickly. So if you're working in front of that sawmill blade, always kill the sawmill. Do not take that risk of something happening. Now if you watch closely here, you're going to see from this cut forward, I start pushing it a little harder, I start getting more aggressive with it, and if you watch the blade at the end of each cut, you're going to see it's diving down, and then all of a sudden it pops right back up real fast. And when it does, you're cutting a slab on the end 60% larger than the left side. So pay attention as I start cutting now. Watch that blade at the end. If you can see it clearly, you're going to see that blade, actually as I go from the left side start to cut, it starts dipping down further and further and further to the end, and the blade starts stretching. Either I hit something right there, or the teeth are so worn that it doesn't want to cut straight. Pay attention, it's diving right now. It's just going deep, deep, deep. Boom, there you go. If your log pops up on the end of a cut, chances are your blade is diving. Because what happens is you create a rubber band at the end, so when it makes that final cut, it's going to pop back up to the height that you started with on the left. Look at that log, that slab. Now here I decided to give you a little top angle of the sawmill. Now this is later in the cutting of the log, but I just wanted you to get a shot of the top to see, maybe you can see something that you wouldn't see otherwise. Most of the time, if you got a good eye, when you pick out your logs, you know you're getting a good one or a bad one. If the log looks really solid, doesn't have a lot of insect infestation from one end or the other, especially on cedar like we cut mostly, you'll know when you've got a good log and you know when you have a bad log. Now if you see any ants or stuff out at the end of the log itself before you start cutting it and you rot out in it, there is a good possibility that you're going to get a log that once you cut it out, cut the slabs out of it, that you're going to find you're going to have a lot of infestation on the inside that has you a lot of holes, cracks, and voids in it that might make good epoxy resin projects, but most of the time it's pretty much useless. Now we will be able to do something with these. I have plenty of buyers that look for stuff like this. Although they're not very long, they're probably 4.5 to 5 feet long and maybe 14 inches wide at the most. and some of them are inch thick, some of them are inch and a quarter thick, inch and a half. Beautiful spalting. Now if we hit this with some spray water or a stain or something like that after they're actually polished up and sanded and smoothed down and look really nice, we'll tell them what they look like. Now here all I'm doing is I'm giving you a different angle. We've got a GoPro sitting up on the top of the actual sawmill itself, and we do have it covered up with a GoPro cover on a stand, and I had sound actually recording, but it sounded real muffled up, so I decided to actually do away with that sound and create a voiceover starting with this section of the video with a different angle. The GoPro actually gives you true colors, and GoPro cameras are actually pretty nice. Now I'm not sponsored by GoPro or anybody like that, or Canon, which I use the EOS M50. Everything you see in this video and everything that we use to take the video is purchased by myself. So we're not one of these big channels out there that's making hundreds of thousands of dollars off with you viewers. We're just out there trying to pass on some information to you that you might find helpful, and we ask in return that you hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe, so that this video gets out there and reaches other people that might be interested in it. Now I'm not going to bore you with a lot of the top cut. I may do some skipping in and out and move it to other sections of the video, but I just wanted you to get an angle from the top of the saw. A lot of people ask me a lot of questions about the homemade sawmill, and this gives them a different angle to look at it, and maybe if they have a question or two, I'm able to answer it to help them build one themselves. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. We ask that you hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. See you in the next video.